Hey everybody, this is Marsilio. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks for your interest in my take on the markets. Technicals and timing for the win, because what Wall Street hates the most is it works the best. So I'm going to keep to the usual format, review some charts, moves ahead, especially FOMC, and then some data edges and a special section for Astro-fluent. So got a lot to cover. I know I want to keep these clipping along to make it easy for listeners to get the info they need. So here we go. Review. Last week wasn't perfect, but pretty good. Many calls worked out. The best setup idea from the last week video was that I thought VIX was going to come down, and it really came down hard. So that was correct. Thought we'd see some test of the low. It wasn't a full test, but we got a higher low test on ES and S&P. Took a stab at Tesla earnings call and got that one. I did take a look at Zuckerberg and Facebook, but I didn't really have an opinion, so it's not really going in the mist because I didn't make a call. Though it would have been nice to be bearish on that one for sure. Some of the intraday ideas worked out for the morning articles, especially Tuesday, Friday. But Thursday, I was off the strength surprise. I thought the pre-market indications were pretty weak, and I was surprised at that rally. So that's just a quick summary of review. Cryptos, I thought, would be in a choppy sideways pattern that would start to resolve upside. And interestingly, why don't we just start with that chart, since I know that a lot of people have particular interest in this. Bitcoin has not delivered on this at all. It's just kind of creeping sideways. I do think it could get going in the near future. But Ethereum has responded to this positive timing window that really began middle last week and in play now, especially for Friday, Saturday, and into early Sunday. And Ethereum is actually on the verge of a pivot status change, which it's not official until the close, which hasn't happened yet, but it might be recovering its second quarter pivot. I use these pivots a lot for people who are not familiar. And look at this, my tweak MACD turning up and about to recover a pivot. So, this is not really the look I like in terms of launch support. That's more like this scenario here, but it still would be positive if Ethereum can hold on to that. And the other thing I want to point out, hat tip day by day on this, there's somebody on Twitter who I like to work with a lot. And I'm sure many of you who are focusing on crypto markets do follow this. So I was expecting positive timing, especially from later Tuesday, and then a little bit Wednesday, Thursday, may not as zippy, but definitely from Friday on. And again, Bitcoin not doing much, but this ratio is really moving. So I'll put his Twitter link in the YouTube show notes just for credit purposes, because I know he watches this a lot. So for those of you who are also noting, and I'm going to have more to say about crypto data edges towards the end of the video. So now on to some other charts, kind of the regular rundown that I do. S&P already cleared its second quarter pivot. So this bar was on the edge. This bar bare kind of borderline. Then that failed. Then now recovered. So S&P recovered last week. NASDAQ in this in-between status. And then SOX, semiconductors, also above second quarter pivots. None of the others, of course, none of the others even close. And what I really like to keep an eye on is VIX. And although VIX did come down hard from the extremes of last week last week Friday, it is still above its second quarter pivot, above monthly pivot, and above this rising 200 moving average. So it's really not giving all clear signs. Markets are really still in mixed state, and of course, likely waiting on the Fed on Wednesday. So let's look. During the week, I'll be watching the dollar index and TNX very keenly. I've been putting those in every morning note these days in the articles. So in terms of the Fed, basically, I think some of you know the rate cut expectations have been pushed out. And I like looking at this is not really my area of specialty, but I like looking in terms of exactly the permutations that Fed's going to do. I let other people like parse the language and all that. But we know that no one's expecting a cut at this meeting. The issue is when they were expecting future cuts. And even a month ago, people thought there was a decent shot at a cut in the June meeting. And now that's just off the table. It's like 90%, 88%, still 88% chance that it's going to be the same as it is now. We have to go further out into the year before we see a cut. So that is already known news. And in terms of my read, a speculative read on JPOW, I think he's going to sound confident. And I think he's going to sound like the tools are working. He may not say dismiss recent data, because he's always going to say it's data driven, but he may take it in stride and just feel like his policies are working. And maybe in time, this might be a little too confident, but for this week, I think he's going to sound confident. And if that's true, then even if and there's no need for him to be super hawkish, and I think it'll be market friendly. So this is a guesstimate. It's a speculative guesstimate. Then if this is true, then momentum trades are going to be back on. AI, crypto, semiconductors, or maybe not necessarily in that order, but especially semiconductors already looking good. The AI, any momentum trade that's took a whack in the last month could be back on with a confident sounding, not too hawkish JPOW. So that's my preferred scenario, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong in terms of inflation. I think longer term, there are some issues he's going to have to contend with. I'm just looking at his conditions this particular week, and it looks like he's going to be especially confident. And usually markets like confident Fed chair, even if he does what everybody expects he's going to do, because he seems like he's in control. That's what markets like. They like the high priest. That's why I started with that image of markets to be omnipotent and all-knowing. So as long as he's projecting that, I think we got a bullish reaction. Okay, so but if I'm wrong, which I could be, then dollar's going to break out up, and the risk-on trades are going to get hammered, especially into Thursday. Tech and cryptos will also suffer on that. So it's not just like a buy and come back next for the next week video to see what happened. This could be a major event, and it's worth watching. If you're not going to be at screens and have positions on, then that's where you can put on stops. All right. So you got my sense on the best moves if JPOW works out as planned. Risk on, momentum trades back, semiconductors, AI stocks, cryptos, and maybe some small cap leaders, the ones that are already breaking out up. I also like commodities here. I think they're going to make a move back up to high. Well, any commodity, gold is doing well, had a pullback. Also oil, any of the metals. Copper's been on a tear, particularly note. So I think all these would get going if JPOW allows. So that's my sense in the best moves. And one chart that I want to point out in particular, I just found this by looking at proximity to high, free screener on FinViz, and also going through my semiconductor scan. Semiconductors have been on a tear, and this been the leading sector. And I happened to notice a company, I don't even fully know what they do, but this looked the best among any of them. So that's what I want to, that's so ripe for breakout. And actually, what some of this was their recent earnings, but even ahead of NVIDIA in terms of proximity to highs. So it's just a name that not as many people are familiar with. So I'm using FinViz as an easier tool to look at highs, free screen, and if you're doing any stock plays. Okay, so on to some data edges and other charts. I wanted to talk about sentiment a little bit as well, and point out this is a particular technical setup, and weekly system gave, so when the lines are down at the bottom and it's too much optimism, not so many puts bought in relation to calls, and we have a false alarm in January, but the second one, either one of the lines, ideally both, but either one dipped below the band back inside, this would be considered excessive optimism. unwinding end of March. So that actually worked really well. And note that if we count this one, the spike one, that was 1, 2. Last time we had something like that was right momentum highs in 2021. So it's been years since we got a weekly sell signal in stocks, stock indexes, and one false alarm warning, one that worked pretty well. But now in the daily chart, interestingly, we've already gone the other way. So the lines are outside the bands and haven't even come back inside yet. So this is not, my version of the signal is when they're coming back inside. And we haven't had a full-fledged daily buy signal since last fall low, October. I worked pretty well. And then before that was one in August. And then, these are pretty far, March 2023. And then look at January 2023. And then there was the major low, October 2022. So I do like, this, it's pretty good confirming indicator in terms of side of the boat. But now we're in a situation where weekly chart is working off expected optimism, but daily chart is spiked to very quickly to pessimism due to this change in Fed policy. So it's just worth being aware that a lot of people have maybe gotten too bearish too soon. And so maybe we'll see that resolve in a bullish fashion in the coming week. So on to some other data edges. These are for S&P. I'll talk about Bitcoin in a little bit. So here's one that's in play. It's already in play from late last week, and it's going to be in play all week. It's basically in this, when the condition is met, this is I'm just measuring from the last bear market major low, October, to current bull markets only, S&P data. And so when this condition is met, average daily percent return, 0.3 and change percent per day, and then all other times 0.1. So almost, so this is almost but not quite 3 times the gains as when it's in play compared to when it's not in play. So that's a significant edge that just started towards the end of last week and going to be in play all week. There's another one similar, not as strong, but similar, that's starting Monday, going to be play all week. So it's a different planet cycle, different node connections are the first one. And in is 0.18, out is 0.11. Doesn't sound like a lot of difference, but that's more than 50% better gains when the condition is met compared to all the other times. So that's in play. And then lastly, one of the better and easier edges, although the chart is going to be a little more, chart's a little more got going on to it. This shows average 15-minute return on the ES. Again, from that major bear market low, October 22 to current. And the pink bar returns will be in play starting Wednesday pre-market. So the Fed day in play for about a week. So that's also going to help a bullish. So 3 different pretty decent bullish edges in play for the coming week, or at least this last one starts on Wednesday. And that combined with my speculative take on JPOW, I'd really like to be bullish here. Hope I'm not wrong, because I'm going to be positioned bullish, but all my signals are looking pretty good. Then in terms of the crypto side, I know some of you may be watching my stuff for the first time, and I want to spend a little time with this. This is one of the best edges in markets. It's so easy. It's so simple, and the returns are just off the hook. So what I'm doing is I'm just dividing a moon cycle. So here's a little bit of Astro lingo in half. And one half has massive gains compared to the other half when we're looking at bull markets only and not bear. And so if we look at April 2020 to current, so the COVID low basically 0.06. So this is average 15-minute bar returns. That's why the numbers are so small. But what matters is the differential, 0.006 versus 0.02. That's more than 300% the gains in one half compared to the other. Then last major crypto bear market low, November 22, 0.06. That's 10x returns. It's not 100%. It's 1,000% better from that time frame with Bitcoin in a bull market. Then more recently, still in play, not quite, but 0.009, 0.08, still 1,000%. And then even this year, still in play, actually even better because you actually got negatives in the other one. So amazing edge. It's already in play. It's going to be in play for another week. And so what does this mean? Does this mean just buy and come back in 2 weeks, don't look at charts? No, because anything can happen with the Fed or markets, and maybe you're not, and maybe it's a different coin, Bitcoin, etc. But it does mean don't miss along. And if something's starting to move like that ETH Bitcoin ratio, you might want to consider that a little bit more when there's positive timing like this. And then this is what, so that data is what I'm also showing very graphically on one of the charts in my free Tableau Public page. So again, we're just dividing orange, pink. Whoops, I didn't know Tableau was going to refresh that for. So here we see, orange down, pink up, orange a little up, pink big up, orange down, pink flat, orange down. So so far pink is down, but it doesn't work 100% of the time. Nothing does. But if the data pattern it works the way it usually does, then this will be going up. And even if Bitcoin winds up flat and Ethereum takes the lead, it actually won't reflect in this chart of the data because that's Bitcoin only, but good opportunity on the long side. Okay, one more section for Astro-fluent. I'm going to talk a little bit more, just a little bit, in terms of recent events and what I'm looking at. Astro Cryptodamus and I are on a very similar page here. I'm just going to show graphically. So I'm going back to S&P, and there's several factors that could have been in play for a negative April, and here they are very graphically, and it's hard to know which one, and maybe a combination, likely a combination. It's always a combination. There's not just one planet. But here we have Mars in Pisces, did not like being in Pisces. Historical data is not that bad, although the last time in Pisces also negative. But dealing with the malefics in the sign, not so good. And also you can clearly see the tech trades were on with Mars in Aquarius, and then Pisces, boom, the other way. But also Sun was eclipsed in Aries. Now this is not typical for Sun to be that weak in Aries, but of course that's where we have the eclipses. And just getting away from those nodes, Sun has responded positively so far in Taurus, actually the very near the low. And then we also have Venus sign, which did not like being in Aries. That is not always the case, sometimes, but often a little bit weaker than Pisces, where she does very well. But this time really hit hard in Aries, Venus in Aries. And then Mercury motion too, Mercury retrograde. This was a really tough one. I think a combination of factors. Mercury dealing with nodes or ruler in Pisces with unfriendly reception and all the other stuff going on. So that's, the retrograde portion is over. It'll take a few days to pick up speed. For those who are just saying, well, what about Bitcoin and all this? It's very similar. I'll just run through Mercury retrograde. Also weaker. I'm using GBTC here because this is where I can stay in the same workspace. Venus sign, GBTC did not like being in this red zone in Aries. Sun sign, same, and some stable, but not too zippy yet, Sun in Taurus. And then Mars sign, also same for GBTC. So thanks again for your interest, and welcome to all the new followers. I'm really happy to see 10,000 on my X/Twitter, and stay tuned. There's a lot more new stuff on the way from this account. Thanks and good luck.